This is the TS 1.5, and we're going to assemble it with all our parts here to make a weld. Okay. This is our glass globe, and you'll insert it mounting on like this, and it'll sit flush with the surface. Okay. This is where we adjust the diameter of our pipe. So when we're inset into the tube sheet, the tungsten will be inserted, and this will be our weld location. So our diameter can be set on this slot here. We're going to insert or mount this leg, gives stability for welding, and then it gives us another surface to adjust our tungsten height. After I remove the two bottom screws off the face, this leg has the same hole location. So we'll insert those. Okay. So just finish tightening this up. Alright, now we insert our globe. Push that on. And where the tungsten is located inside, wherever this may be, you want to cross that point from here to here to here. So what we're going to do is spin this around so we can get in line with the tungsten, and this is going to give us our height, because this surface here, these three tabs that stick out, are going to be the surface of the tube sheet. So we can take that, this is the same surface as this, and go across, and then we'll get our tungsten height. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken the globe off. I'm going to insert my tungsten, and I'm going to set this screw just tight enough so this has a little bit of play to it, but it's still kind of rigid. I'm going to put my globe back on. I'm going to see if the tungsten breaks the surface of these two planes. So I turn my points around so I can intersect the tungsten height. So it's sticking out just a little bit. So what I need to do to gap that, I got my feeler gauge, and I've already got it set for 35 thousandths. So if that tungsten is sticking out just a little bit where it intersects, I can push it down with the feeler gauge in between, and I get my tungsten height. So now I'm 35 thousandths away from the surface of that material, or whatever the dimension would be if you had a pipe protruding. So now I can remove my globe one last time and tighten down my screw for my tungsten. And now all I got to do is figure out my diameter to where I am off center of that tube. So now I'm going to insert my expanding collets. There's a collet for that size pipe, and here's the adjuster nut that goes on. And it's a cam style. So when this is tight, I can pull this back and preload it and adjust, and the cam will expand the collet, as you see. Okay. Now what we want to do is make sure that our collet is expanded to the correct size. So what I'll do is find my 3 points that I can assign a parallel surface, and then lock it in place. And it still needs a little adjustment, it's not quite seated. Make my adjustments, stick it back in, find my surfaces, and lock it down again, and it's in place. And if you could see inside, I'm 35 thousandths off the surface with the tungsten. So now what I got to do is adjust my diameter of the tungsten. So what I want to do is take off my globe and insert back in just enough so the tungsten and this backstop rest, and I'm not quite touching with the tungsten, but I lock it in place. And this gives me the ability to make this adjustment in and out. Okay, after we get it all set up, get our tungsten back in place, and get our collet to hold the tungsten in place, we lock the head in without the globe on it. And then we have the ability to get our adjustment for our diameter to where our weld is going to be. We just lock those screws in place. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. Now that we get that set up, we can undo it. Put our globe back on. Make sure it's seated correctly. Now when we insert, we make sure that everything's correct. Our bottom leg is touching. And we're ready to weld. So that's the basic setup. And on the side of the head, after you get your program set, you have your stop and your start button. So you never have to go back to the machine again. You can just keep going.